I just saw 1917.
Oh my! How amazing was that?
I know that's a different war, but holy shit. That I just saw 1917 and then did all the research. I had not paid attention to how horrific World War One was.
Yeah, it kind of doesn't get the respect it deserves. It's like
Yeah.
it's if you're gonna go like AC/DC albums, World War One is like the flick of the switch for those Power Age, for those about to rock, sort of didn't get, mainstream. World War II was Back in Black. Shook Me All Night Long, Tom Brokaw, Greatest Generation.
Dewey Selman versus Leroy Selman. Dewey Selman was an amazing defensive back, but his brother had the sacks, so you remembered Leroy Selman.
Oh, his brother was a defensive back?
Yeah, Dewey Selman, and he had sickle cell anemia.
Oh, he died?
I remember my dad explaining to me what sickle cell anemia was. I was like, oh, yeah. So did Leroy Selman died too. When I was a kid, must have been like 6 years old, and my dad walked me through sickle cell anemia. And it's a horrible disease.
You were 6 years old, he walked you through that?
I remember I learned two things at Buck games. Never have M&Ms and chewing tobacco. Because my dad, this kid had chewing tobacco and was eating M&Ms. My dad was like, buddy, this isn't going to end well. And I was like, what?
Yeah, he's swallowing the juice.
Yeah, and he threw up all next to me. And my dad's like, called it, just got up and we walked out. And my dad walked me through sickle cell anemia, like told me about the disease.
Dude, I got to be honest with you. I love your dad. Dude, you know how cool that is to go, called it?
Called it. Let's go. Get out of here, buddy. Come on. Yeah, I remember the first Bucks win. I remember. It's so funny, man, those memories you have. I was laying in bed tonight going, I'm getting old. Like, one day, like I'm at the age now where I feel like every time someone says an age, they're younger than me. Do you know what I'm saying?
Bert, I'm older than you.
Yeah.
What happens when I ask you how old you are? Now, dude, you got to, that's like the thing that I learned, that I was able to turn my brain around, because I was really, really fucking negative.
Yeah.
Like, I know I'm cynical with my act or whatever, but like, I root for people. I want people to be successful. I want to be okay. I'm not like how sometimes people may perceive me. But when I was in my 20s, my 30s to mid 30s, I bottomed out, and I had to like read all of these, these books. Your Word is Your Wand. This comedian Tony Moschetto told me about that book. And I really started paying attention to what my brain was telling me. I had this really weird thing where, like, the long game, I was like, I'm going to make it and I'm all right. But every little fucking step, getting groceries, there's going to be no parking spots. And then I won't be able to get groceries. And then I'll be running out of gas. I was catastrophizing, I guess is what they call it in therapy world. I was doing that all the time. And now I just kept working on it. I was able to turn it around. And I feel to actually become who I was supposed to be before all the bullshit happened when I was a kid. And I was actually talking to my wife, Nia, today, about 20 years, I'll be 71, 72, getting ready to retire. And it made me a little depressed. And then I just immediately attached like 10 positive things I could think about of being that age, and that, that I could get myself out of it. Cause it's kind of like, if you're not clinically depressed, then you just sort of like habitually bummed out is what I had.
Yeah.
Sort of thing, sort of beaten down, a beaten down person. I find that like when those thoughts come in, you can be like, all right, am I going to let that thing get around my neck and take me down to the bottom of the lagoon for 2-3 days, couple of weeks, put on 15 pounds, not write any jokes? Or am I going to go work out? Am I going to go play drums, play with my daughter, get something healthy to eat, watch a comedy, like, or do something? Dude, make the bed. You know that video on YouTube where the Admiral says, get up and you make the bed? I've been doing that lately during the pandemic. It makes me feel great. I don't know what the fuck it is. You make your bed and you come in. When you get in it, the sheets feel cooler, crisper. I don't know what it is, as opposed to getting there. Make your bed. Huh?
I think I've seen this. Make your bed.
Yeah, he gave this whole speech. I didn't watch any of it. I just saw all his awards, and he goes, you get up in the morning, you make your bed. And I was like, all right, I've seen enough.
Oh, I showed Isla. You know Jocko Willink? I'm messing his last name. He's friends with Rogan.
Jocko Pastoria?
No, Jocko. No.
Is he a Floridian?
Who?
Jocko Pastorius? Is that what his name?
I thought he was South America. The guy that shot his girlfriend?
One of the best bass players ever.
Oh, my God. You want to talk about how far away we are from the original subject? I'm thinking of Oscar Pistorius, who shot his girlfriend. I thought that's who you were talking about.
Oh, the guy with the sickles.
Yeah, the sickles.
The sickle legs. That was one of my favorite jokes. Nick DiPaolo said that he's all set when he goes to prison. He doesn't need to make a shank. He's got 2 hanging on his feet. His legs.
No. Jocko.
How the fuck did he get away with that?
He got away with it?
I thought he did.
Yeah, I think he did. I'm trying to remember.
I thought it was a robber and you thought he locked himself in your bathroom? Bullshit. He chased her in there and she was screaming, no, no, no. And he shot her through the fucking door. And let her bleed out. That's what I think.
Someone told me about Jim Jeffries has a joke about Oscar Pistorius. And he was like, and I forget, I wish I could remember who it was. And they're like, this is my favorite joke. And he's doing it it's like we're at the Improv and it's on the screen on the TV. And I wish I could remember who I was with. I always say it was Segur or someone, but like someone I respect was like, this is my favorite joke. And I said, why? And as they say that, and by the way, my memory is shady, but Jim Jeffries does an impression of Oscar Pistorius dragging himself across the floor with no legs. And he goes, he's basically just making fun of handicapped people, but he's getting a pass because this guy murdered his girlfriend. And I was like, and I watched it, and Jim Jeffries going,
Jim Jeffries is he's on a whole other level.
Dude, he is so good. Like, what I love about Jim Jeffries, the same thing I love about you is like, it's like you guys are on your own path. Like there's an old thing that I heard that if you see the path in the forest, then that means other people are taking the path and you're on the wrong path. That you need to carve your own path through the woods. And so that you need to be stepping on grass and making your own path. And I love that. It's scary as fuck when you really try to make your own path and go, I got to not listen to what everyone's telling me and do my own thing. Because sometimes you look like a jackass, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But it's what I there. You, Joe, Jim Jeffries, it's almost like Doug Stanhope. You guys are so definitively on your own paths in this business. In this journey.
Those guys like the 2 that I saw that were on their own path and I got inspiration from was in the late 90s when I was doing the road. I don't give a fuck where I went, how obscure it was. Doug Stanhope and Mitch Hedberg had either just been there or were coming there or whatever. And they were the only 2 guys that I saw that wanted to do the road the way I wanted to, that saw the whole romance, Jack Kerouac bullshit of it, of like, you know, like when all the autobiographies that I read about comedians, it wasn't about when they did the Tonight Show. It was about when they were doing a one-nighter in El Paso, Texas, and a group of bikers came in or something crazy happened, and the adventures that they had like out on the road and stuff. And I'll tell you, as much as I try to enjoy life in the moment and stuff, like I kind of realized like I had like this last decade, I had this great moment in my life on the road, and it just went by so fucking quick. And now we're all older. You know, Verzi's headlining now, so we don't get to work together. My buddy Lawhead got married. He's down in San Diego doing sports radio and all that stuff. And like, I stopped drinking and smoking cigars. There was this period, dude, where we were just beating the shit out of our livers and doing killer shows. I was like 20 pounds heavier. And we like every night was like the greatest night we had on the road. And I was just texting with Lawhead and Verzi, and I was saying, I think the pinnacle night we had on the road, we were doing the Tabernacle in Atlanta, which is, yeah, that place is, you just go in there. There's something about that place where you're like, it's like, this is what I did all the work for, was to be able to play a place like this in a city like this, in front of a crowd like this. So it just so happened they were filming Anchorman 2. And I knew David Koechner through doing stand-up. Yeah. So he said, come on down to the set. This was all one day. Come down to the set. We're shooting. I went down there. met Paul Rudd, and they were shooting a scene, and Will Ferrell was there, and he stayed in character when he met us. And he just like, all of them were just fucking the best guys ever. And then later on that night, Paul Rudd and Keckner came out to the show.
Really?
And I had a tour bus, and we were hanging out. We had a couple of shots, everybody feeling good. I waited till after the show. We went out, everybody fucking murdered. Paul and Keckner stood on the side of the stage, watched the show, so generous, we're laughing. And then in the end, we were telling them what big fans we were. We get on the bus, and we had like Goodfellas on DVD, and we had Anchorman. And I saw Paul elbow Dave, and he pointed to it, could see like this wasn't bullshit. And we just hung out for the whole night, telling stories, laughing our asses off, drinking beers, doing shots. And the night ended, and I think then we got it in the bus, and we did it overnight because I didn't realize that you paid overtime.
Yeah.
And we got in the bus, and then we drove all the way out. No, that was when we were coming from Alabama. I think we just ended the night on the tour bus, and it was right outside the stage. It was.
I know that. It's off to the side in the parking lot. I know.
Yeah, and we had Cuban cigars, or probably what we thought were Cubans, but in our head they were Cuban cigars. And that was perfect weather. I remember no jacket, nothing. And we had a couple of lawn chairs sitting outside the bus and just telling stories and laughing until like 3 or 4 in the morning. And all I remember the next day was paying for it because, I was kind of dragging ass the next day. So I was thinking about the hangover, and like we just texted about it yesterday or 2 days ago. And I was like, you know what? I think that was the high watermark as far as on the road, the gig, the hang, the group of people, it was just, and like last decade was, I don't know, as you get older, it goes faster. So last decade was just a friggin' blur, but it was fun.